Hey everybody, thanks for joining me as I take a look at some doom metal releases that I picked up recently. And I guess just by total coincidence, this is the Scandinavian edition, as all four of these bands are from Sweden and Finland. So we're going to start off with my favorite release of the batch, that being High on Infinity by Count Raven. Count Raven are a Swedish doom band that have released 6 full-length albums since forming in 1989. This is their second and one of their most highly regarded releases. Again, High on Infinity, released in 1993 on Hellhound, and this is a more recent 2018 Metal Blade edition. This is on double, what was that, I guess yellow gold. It's actually got some liner notes by Rich Walker from Solstice, big Solstice fan. And Count Raven are a band that I've known about for a long time. I know they're very influential, very underrated, but a band that I've never really given a good listen to. So here we are, and I was very pleased. This album is admittedly very Black Sabbath, but not like a boring Master of Reality ripoff. And it doesn't sound like St. Vitus, Trouble, Candlemass, bands you might regard as their peers. It sounds like if Ozzy released a killer and original album with Black Sabbath in the 90s. That's totally how it feels to me. And the vocals, right away, you gotta say, 95% Ozzy, just a little bit that kind of makes it its own. But even more than the vocal sound, it's the vocal patterns. I don't think I've heard anyone really nail the Ozzy vocal patterns the same way this guy does. I also gotta say, very weird lyrics. It ranges from politics to conspiracy theories to religion. I think they might even be a Christian band to some extent. And then there's like a song that sounds like it's dedicated to a child. Um, yeah, kind of all over the place, a little on the nose at times, but again, I think this is a really strong album. I give it 8.5 out of 10. My favorite songs: the opener, Jen, and the Madman from Waco, which, as you might have guessed, is a song, very, again, on the nose song about Waco and David Koresh and that whole thing. I also really like the outro, Cosmos. Very interesting, spacey atmosphere. I don't know if that's actually saxophone or just keyboards that kind of sound like saxophone, but really cool way to close the album, although this also has a bonus track, Schreit's Triumph. Next up, I'm going to say this is the weakest release of the bunch we're looking at today. Black Star, the most recent EP by legendary Swedish doom band Candlemass. So, Candlemass have at this point released over a dozen full-length albums, and I lost track of their material a long time ago. But to be honest, last time I went to the record store, I just decided to play it cheap and get something that was kind of low on the price range and a bit of a blind buy for something new. And I found myself pretty disappointed by this. But again, this was released in 2025 on Napalm Records. And, well, we'll go off, starting off with my main issue with this, are the vocals. They're handled by Johan Lankvist, who did handle session vocals on the debut album way back in the 80s and has been a permanent member since 2018. They put out, a couple new albums since then. I haven't listened to them, but I haven't heard much positive about those releases. And yeah, just the vocals here, I'm not into them. At the best of times, they kind of remind me of JB from Grand Magus, but it just sounds like he's trying to do like 3 or 4 vocal styles kind of all at the same time, none really working. So just my opinion, but wasn't feeling that. But let's look at the track listing. You have 2 songs, 2 original songs and 2 covers. So the title track, Black Star. Now I've heard this is actually released as a bit of a tribute to the band's 40th anniversary. But the title track, Black Star, just unimaginative riffs. The chorus just saying, "Oh, Black Star, Black Star." The next track, Corridors of Chaos, kind of a short instrumental. I didn't dislike it, so I guess it's the best thing on here. Yeah, turn the vinyl over. You got 2 cover songs. Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath by Black Sabbath. Yeah, it's a pretty accurate rendition of the song, but again, the vocals kill it for me on this track. And then Forever My Queen by Pentagram, kind of short and ineffective, and that song, the original, isn't even really too much of a banger for me. So you win some, you lose some. Wasn't too big on this new Candlemass EP, but again, Candlemass, a legendary band, and I'm sure there's much of their back catalog that I will go back and enjoy. And there it is on black. And now we're going to find ourselves over in Finland, starting with Unholy from the Shadows, the 1993 debut album by this Finnish, more of a death doom band than a straight up doom band. They would release 4-length albums, the final one being released in 1999, and they'd go on to break up a couple years later. So this is a Peaceville reissue. On double black vinyl. And this is a very strange album, very ahead of its time, but I'm still deciding whether or not I actually like it. Because I've listened to it many, many times, and I do discover new things each time. It feels fresh every time, but at some point, the songs, you would think they gotta click or come together, and for me, they kind of haven't. But I'm no songwriting expert, and one day this album might go on to completely blow my mind. But it's all about the atmosphere, very slow, very weird songs. At the end of the day, old school death metal meets funeral doom with tons of keyboards and experimenting all over the place. Vocals go back and forth between more of a classic obituary or death vocal to this very strange, kind of nerdy, clean vocal. So again, lots to discover here. I mean, look at that album cover. Look at that band image, again, back in 1993. Very original, very cool. And some of these album titles, The Trip was Infragreen. I'm assuming these guys were on some drugs when they were creating this stuff. And my favorite songs come near the end of the album, those being Colossal Vision and the closer, Passé Tirme. Finally, we're going to go back to some Reverend Bizarre. Looked at them on my last video. This is a 2007 single, Teutonic Witch, which has been re-released on Spart in 2001. It's the one-page insert. I wonder what movie that's from. And the lyrics. And actually, funny enough, I mentioned the new record store in my area, and when they had their grand opening, they had like 8 copies of this, which I found kind of strange, but I thought it was also pretty cool that I believe all those have sold now. So good to see that people in the neighborhood are picking up the good stuff. So I didn't mention one song, 16 minutes. That's on one-sided black. Now I mentioned Count Raven weren't doing the old Masters of Reality thing. Reverend Bazaar are doing the Masters of Reality thing, but also mixed with a good helping of old school Celtic Frost, wild vocal performance by Albert Witchfinder, and while not one of my favorite Reverend Bazaar releases, definitely a worthy addition to your doom metal collection. Thanks for joining me. See you next time.